Story 1. Subscription service they forgot they signed up for. $9.99 here, $12.99 there. And suddenly you are broke, but somehow subscribed to 3 meditation applications and a streaming service you have not opened in months. Story 2. Things to save money you do not need to buy in the first place. My wife says it is 50% off. 100% you did not need to buy it. Story 3. Lipstick. The lipstick indicator, sometimes called the lipstick effect, is an economic observation that lipstick sales tend to rise during recessions or other tough economic times. The theory is that women will spend money on small items that make them feel good when they cannot afford more expensive things because of a recession. Story 4. Members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints are instructed to pay tithing even if they do not have money for food or shelter. Story 5. Fast food restaurants, coffee shops, subscriptions for television and music, unnecessary Amazon shopping, and similar expenses. Story 6. From people I know, eating out or ordering takeout, clothes shopping, and travel. The usual justification is, well, you still have to live life. Story 7. Drugs, alcohol, cigarettes, lottery tickets, smartphones. Story 8. Rent that is too high is probably the biggest opportunity. Many friends spend too much of their income on rent at a nice new complex in the shopping district when they could find a cheaper, less nice place for a while and save at least a couple $100s per month. For those who can make it work, living at home with parents a little longer and working near the family home while saving all the rent money is an enormous opportunity. Story 9. Nails. I will never understand how some people complain about having no money to pay bills, yet somehow manage to have the money to get their nails done every couple of weeks. Story 10. Tattoos. Every single low-income person relying on Social Security seems to have money for a tattoo or 6. Story 11. Overdraft fees from my bank. If I know I have an automatic payment coming and not enough money to cover it, I go to the ATM and withdraw my entire balance. They charge me $35 for an overdraft, but at least I can buy bread with the $67 in cash I have. Story 12. Disposable vaporizers are obviously difficult to replace. Story 13. Subscriptions, paper towels, specialty coffee pods, alcohol, cigarettes. Story 14. Coffee. You can brew your own coffee at home for a fraction of the price you would pay at a major coffee shop. Story 15. My brother-in-law has a problem with cannabis vaporizers from vape stores. They cost $50. Story 16. I decided this year that I wanted to make an outdoor space for myself. We have a big covered deck, a spot for the grill, and a concrete countertop. We did all that ourselves. We had a table, chairs, and cushions given to us, but still not enough places for everyone in the family to sit. I wanted an outdoor sofa and some other seating. My husband wanted a Blackstone grill. I wanted a television and a mini fridge. Of course, we needed rugs, hanging plants, standing plants, and all that. I have one credit card. Naturally, I almost maxed it out, which was unwise. But my rationale is that I can technically pay for it all now if I wanted to deplete my checking account, so it's okay to put it on credit since I can pay it anytime. Also, I could have bought everything out of pocket over time, but that would mean not getting all the things I wanted to enjoy until spring, probably. I want to enjoy them now. Mostly, I wanted to enjoy the thrill of being excited about something new and looking forward to it. That's the emotion that drives my impulse buys. I spend so long only feeling like I'm able to buy necessities, mostly stuff for the kids or boring things like new tires for the vehicles, that the minute I get a little bit of money that isn't already earmarked for something else, I chase that feeling of looking forward to something new. I guess my point is that people can waste money on many things, but what they are really buying most of the time is a feeling of hope for a future, happier version of themselves. Story 17. Anything that can be prepared at home or organic. I lived with a roommate who bought an $8 tomato, a single tomato, while claiming poverty. Another roommate claimed poverty and got a fancy $8 to $9 coffee every morning and at least one more throughout the day. Story 18. Coffee, gaming equipment, computer equipment unless needed for work, going out to eat. Story 19. Lottery tickets. I have seen some of the poorest-looking people buy large quantities of them. Story 20. Buying bottled water when water is free. $6 Starbucks coffee. Story 21. Scratch tickets. Malt liqueur. I've done both. Though if I need cash badly, I don't buy either. I rarely spend more than a few dollars on scratch tickets. A six-pack of Steel Reserve is about $8 in my area. I could have worse habits. Story 22. Overpriced coffee from one of those small coffee shops that you find in the central business district of most cities. Story 23. Food delivery. I am always shocked at how much people spend on food delivery when they do not have the money to spend. Story 24. Lifted Ford F-150 trucks. Jewelry, alcohol, cigarettes, marijuana, and other expensive drugs. Part of why fentanyl is so dangerous is that it is extremely cheap. DoorDash, Postmates, and other food delivery services. Gambling. Story 25. For my household, it is paper towels, although we have many hand towels that we never use. Story 26. Exotic pets. Your car needs $500 to fix, so you don't have to walk to the bus stop to get to work, but you were looking to buy a Komodo dragon for $500 from a man who is down on his luck. Story 27. Subscriptions. Streaming services, storage services, unused program software, antivirus protection, gaming services. Story 28. Cars and phones. You would see the most financially struggling family where everyone has the new iPhone and 6 trucks on their dilapidated lawn. Story 29. Unnecessary driving. Spending $1 or $2 on gas just to go for a drive really adds up. Story 30. You know what business does really well during economic downturns? Nail salons. It is the treat you can still afford. Story 31. My wife worked with a 30-year-old who barely made above minimum wage. She had one son and was single. Every day, she came to work with Starbucks and some sugary drinks. She also had many tattoos. Story 32. Lottery tickets, cigarettes, vaping products, alcohol, gambling, fast food and delivery, eating out at restaurants, streaming services, expensive shoes, clothing, jewelry, and cars, just to name a few. If money is tight, stick to bare necessities. We currently have 2 generations, soon to be 3, raised to think it is acceptable to live beyond their means with no understanding of budgeting, personal finance, or how loans and credit cards work. Many mistakenly believe credit is free money. They believe if they want something, they should get it immediately because they deserve it regardless of cost. People deeply in debt decide to vacation in Hawaii and add the expenses to their credit cards without considering affordability. It is a shame they have been set up to fail. Story 33. Personal experience. Without our weekly 12 packs of sodas, my family would probably go insane. Story 34. In my neighborhood, fireworks are common. A month before and after Independence Day, people go all out. Story 35. Alcohol, cigarettes, lottery tickets, specialty coffee from a shop, and cannabis. Story 36. I had an old coworker at a restaurant who lived with his older sister and her husband. They took his paycheck every time he was paid because they said they could not afford rent and groceries without it. Meanwhile, they were spending hundreds of dollars on alcohol, marijuana, and collectible figures. Not to mention, they spent thousands of dollars on fireworks for the 4th of July. Story 37. I was guilty of paying about $5 for breakfast. Buy one, get one free deals. Story 38. Based on every episode of police officers I have seen, drugs, alcohol, and cigarettes. Story 39. Little luxuries like going out to eat and entertainment often. I remember as a kid, my single mother would end up with some credit card debt every year around Christmas. She never would have done that for herself. Story 40. iPhones and high-end Android phones. Come on. Is that picture of my cat that much better at 50 megapixels? Story 41. This is a hard one to say because money is exceedingly tight for me, and this fed me today and for a while now. However, prepackaged foods. I am exhausted and broke. The former makes it all but impossible to cook from scratch. I know it is cheaper, but I literally do not have the energy to cook anymore. Existing takes up 99% of my energy, and prepackaged food from Walmart feeds me for my one meal a day. Welcome to America. Story 42. Wow, I am broke and do not do any of these. I do not eat out, Smoke, drink, buy fast food or go to restaurants, get energy drinks or buy clothing. I really do not buy anything unless it is needed for my medical needs or my children's needs. The only two things I spend money on are Walmart Plus because I have to get my food delivered to me. I am immunosuppressed and cannot go shopping, so this is a necessary expense, not an optional one. The other thing is streaming a few channels like Amazon Prime Video, Home Box Office, and one other. I also turned off my television services. I do not have any television, so this is the only way for me to watch a few shows and movies. Story 43. Fast food, convenience stores, buying things that are more of a want than a need. Story 44. Alcohol. I say this because I am broke and went to the bar tonight. Story 45. I do not want to be against technology, but with subscriptions, you cannot find everything you want with one subscription. You have to have them all like a collection of cards. Story 46. Groceries and light goods. There are entire areas of rural and suburban America that shop at Dollar General for everything when you can save 20% or more by going to a Walmart supercenter. This is widespread and shows no signs of ending. It may be even worse at many small and large grocery stores. The particular selections people choose are also a big problem. Single-serving chips versus family-sized chips are just the beginning when even buying chips is not in the budget. Story 47. Weed, vaporizers, cigarettes, and alcohol. Addictions are costly. Story 48. Caffeine, if you stop taking it, it will be a few days before you realize you did not need it. It was actually slowing you down if overused. However, people who take it in moderation probably get the best benefits from it. I do not like how dehydrated it makes me. Story 49. Beer and cigarettes. Prostitutes? I'm sure prostitutes still get paid, right? Story 50. Men often spend beyond their means to prove to women that they are financially stable. Story 51. By now, pay later and pay in 4 installment plans have led to a shocking amount of debt for many people. Story 52. 3 things that I man waste money on. 1. Cigarettes. 2. Alcohol and gambling. 3. Women. 3 things that women waste money on. 1. Makeup. 2. Branded items. 3. Jewelry. Story 53. Remember how millennials and Generation Z used to complain about how coffee and avocado toast were not breaking their budget? Turns out that when you do not earn much, they do. Story 54. Coffee and energy drinks, especially when purchased at the store. You can buy a bag of coffee, and it will last much longer. Story 55. Weed, cigarettes, alcohol. $5 a day on cigarettes or alcohol is $1,825 a year. $10 a day on weed is $3,650 a year. Small expenses add up over time, but most people assume it is just pocket change until it is not. Story 56. Alcohol. Top brand clothes. Video streaming subscriptions. Story 57. The lipstick index has been proven to be a consistent indicator. Story 58. Nails, tattoos, hair, tobacco, beige food. Bargains they do not need. Story 59. Buying inexpensive clothes instead of washing existing laundry is a habit I recognize in myself. I rarely feel motivated to do much beyond working. Story 60. Addictive things include cigarettes, coffee, drugs, alcohol, and indulgent foods. Story 61. Saying goodbye to cable or satellite dishes, with all the streaming services added after high-speed internet, of course, at the same or higher price than the previous service. Now, it is a subscription maze. Story 62. I am an action figure collector. I do not get paid until Tuesday, but Saturday I am off from work and I am going toy hunting. I am almost broke, but I can afford 1 or 2 figures if I find ones I want. Story 63. Lottery tickets. I stood behind a man who bought $1,500 worth. Story 64. Alcohol. Eating out. Cars they cannot afford. Anything that is not a necessity. Story 65. Vacations. I know a few people in my life who are tight on money, but their inner voice is telling them to use their credit card, so now they are struggling even more. Story 66. I can name a few, but am afraid of hate. Here we go. Number 1. Scratchers. Number 2. Lottery tickets. Number 3. TikTok users. Number 4. YouTubers. Number 5. Bingo players. Story 67. In general, expensive electronics such as iPhones are costly. Additionally, tobacco products, alcohol, and gym memberships incur expenses. Paying for streaming movies is also a common expenditure. Story 68. Lotto tickets. The poorer you are, the greater the appeal of winning. I have seen more poor family members and friends spending hundreds a year on lotto tickets than any of my wealthier acquaintances. When you have $400,000 in the bank and a house, winning $100 just does not mean as much to you. I remember working with a man who would go to a check cashing place that charged about 10% of his salary just to access his money a few days early, so he could go to the gas station for scratch tickets as soon as possible. Lotto tickets are a poor person's money trap. Story 69. An excessive number of overpriced cars and trucks, and sports utility terrain vehicles. Concert tickets, green fees, and dining out. Story 70. Outside of drugs and gambling, expensive luxury brands and products are often used to make yourself look richer than you are, while really putting yourself in a worse financial state. Phones and cars are the most popular choices for this, in my experience. If you cannot afford the latest iPhone, that is fine. Get a refurbished older model or a different brand of phone. Nobody will notice or care. Do not think that getting it on a contract makes it cheaper. The same applies to cars. If you cannot afford to buy a new car, find a nice second-hand one rather than taking on debt for a new one. Cars lose a huge chunk of their value the second they leave the showroom. Story 71. Lottery, cigarettes, and alcohol. Also, luxury brand clothing like Gucci when you cannot afford it. Story 72. Lottery tickets. I know someone who always cries broke, always buying scratch tickets. When she hits, she spends her winnings on more tickets. Story 73. Beer and marijuana. It is the only way I am making it through this difficult situation. Story 74. Shopping services. Go to any grocery store, especially Walmart. Many people there are pushing carts full of items for drive-up customers. Story 75. Coffee. The worst example is my neighbors get in their car and drive to pick up Starbucks. Homemade coffee is better and way cheaper. It is probably quicker too. Story 76. Buying things they do not want with money they do not have to impress people they do not like. Story 77. I have heard many stories of people who feel compelled to have a new luxury car. The prices and terms they agree to are unreasonable. Story 78. Going out to eat, DoorDash, cigarettes, coffee shops, 7-Eleven snacks, beverages. Story 79. Buying lunch at work. I used to go out to lunch with a group of coworkers on payday, but many people I worked with ate out every day. Story 80. I know a woman who spent over $200 getting her hair done and then complained about money being tight when she could have just worn one of the 50 billion wigs she already has. Story 81. Going for coffee like Starbucks every day. They are in their financed car they cannot afford and waste money on unnecessary things. Story 82. Coffee is amazing for how resilient the addiction is. It outpaces alcohol and smoking by a long shot. Story 83. Alcohol, tobacco, drugs, scratch cards, and anything that keeps up with the neighbors. Story 84. Travel. I have many girlfriends who are 6 figures in debt, mind you, who have to go to X, Y, and Z. Why? Because they need it and deserve it. I have never needed a trip or thought I deserved one. I certainly would not if I did not have the money to do so. Story 85. Coffee. $5 for just a long black adds up after a while. Story 86. I bought a Nintendo Switch 2 as a reward for myself after getting a new job, following 6 months of unemployment. We are doing fine. I sold some shares of my stocks to replenish the emergency fund. Story 87. Treats like soda, candy, and chocolate. I am not suggesting they should never have them, though. Story 88. There are many good examples in the comments of this thread. Story 89. You must not do gig delivery because most of the country does not know this. Story 90. Clothing that is branded or fashionable instead of cheaper and more practical items. Story 91. Mobile game in-app purchases involve using real money to buy virtual items. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.